We need to stop ignoring outrageous abuses of power. And what I mean by this primarily is the money. Our Pentagon has failed almost every audit that they've ever taken. And they come out and they're like, oh, we admit, that we're unable to account for trillions of dollars in assets. A couple years ago it was 2 trillion. The most recent one, it was closer to 3 trillion, nearly $3 trillion in assets and spending. The Pentagon just can't account for it. We cannot allow our militaries to continue bleeding our country dry with these obscene levels of financial mismanagement. Any business and any organization, any company, if you lost even $1 million, if you lost $100,000, you would get canned. These people are losing not just billions with a B, but trillions with a T. And I think the reason that more people aren't upset about this, that our idiot politicians get away with giving them more and more money every year, despite the fact that they can't account for trillions of dollars, is the fact that a lot of people don't even understand what a trillion is. They don't understand like how big of a number that is. So we put this nice little graphic together for you to help everyone understand like how ridiculous this is and how outrageous this is, how unacceptable this is. So check this out. That's $100, right? One bill over there. You put it in a little stack, like a little stack, $10,000. $1 million is this little thing on the ground right here. $100 million is about a pallet or shipping pallet of those $100 bills. So here's $1 billion, right? This right here is $1 billion with a B. That's 10 of those pallets. Right here on a semi truck, you could fit about $2 billion. If you were to stack all that cash in pallets, an entire semi truck right here, that can carry about $2 billion. Check this out. This is $1 trillion. That's how much that is, $1 trillion. So this is 3 football fields long and a football field wide of pallets stacked next to each other. That's how much $1 trillion is. And the military can't account for 3 of those. 3 of those. How outrageous is that? That is totally unacceptable. We're almost like a parody of a country at this point, right? When people go try to call out the military leaders for doing that, they're like, oh, well, how dare you question us? Or, oh, well, you just don't understand how these audits work. Or, oh, well, they make ridiculous excuses. Everybody that's in charge at the Pentagon should be fired over this. If there was a company, like I said, even the biggest company in the world, if they lost $1 billion, their leadership just could not find $1 billion, everybody in that leadership would be fired. And that would be very reasonable. So the same standards need to apply to our very corrupt military leaders. This is beyond ridiculous. How do we clean up the leadership of our military, right? We see that they're bleeding us dry. We see that that's an absolute disaster. How do we clean up this leadership? Number one, right off the bat, we need to reduce all of the top level people, the generals and the admirals. We need to reduce that by 75%. We have way more generals right now in our military than we did when we were fighting World War II. During World War II, we needed like 7 generals. And that was sufficient to win a world war. Now, we have like 50 generals. That is completely ridiculous. And each general, they get their little area, they get their little projects, and all of them want to go stir stuff up, and all of them want to have more money to do their own stuff, right? So we need to reduce the headcount by at least 75% and bring down the ground level troops to generals ratio back down to World War II levels. Also, side note, if you look at pictures of those generals during World War II, like Patton, like MacArthur, like all the legends, right? If you look on their chest, they have like 1 or 2 lines of these little award things right here, right? And that's how it should go. In a reasonable country, that's how it should go. The generals now, they have a gigantic, huge stack of these awards, and they've never won anything. Literally every war that we've fought since World War II has been a disaster. These guys have literally never won anything, and they have all these awards on their chest all the time. We are a cartoon parody of a country. If you guys have ever seen that movie, The Dictator, right, with Sacha Baron Cohen, where he's like the fake leader of the Middle East and he's got all these fake awards on his chest, that's what that looks like. When you see General Milley, like one of the most incompetent clowns out there, with all these awards just streaming down his chest, like that is what we are. We are a parody of a country. We have a parody of the military, and this needs to get cleaned up immediately. Things we could do to clean up the military leadership is we need to end political appointments. So for those of you who don't know, every single top level person, whether it's an admiral, whether it's a general, right? Admiral's the top in the Navy, generals are the top in the Air Force and the Army. Every single one of those people needs to get approved politically, right? So they essentially go from being soldiers to being politicians. And that's a huge part of the problem. And you don't win favor with the politicians unless you do a bunch of corrupt stuff with the politicians. That needs to end. There needs to be no more political appointments for military leadership positions. The military leadership should be promoted based on merit from within, not arbitrarily chosen and confirmed by our worthlessly corrupt politicians. And when those people are serving, when those top level people get picked, they should have 10-year term limits. Like we have with the FBI director, like we have with some other things. They need to have 10-year term limits so that we don't just get this massive bureaucratic bloat at the top of a bunch of old dinosaurs that never stop doing the same things. We need to create a dynamic military of constant turnover at the top, right? 10 years is plenty of time to serve. There needs to be 10-year terms on all the top level positions in the military. So if you do these things, you do these 3 things, that would go a long way towards cleaning up our horrible leadership of our military. Again, we respect all the rank and file people in the military, right? We respect their service. We appreciate them a whole lot. We would be in a lot of trouble if we didn't have them. But these people at the top are absolutely terrible, and we need to stop allowing them, right? If you ever criticize them, they're like, oh, you're anti-military, or oh, you're anti-troops, or oh, you're anti-service. No, we're not. We're anti-incompetence, and we're anti-corruption.
Unlock the future, keys in your head. Quantum bodies taking a stand.